Hello, everyone. Hi, Michael.
Say, how are you?
I'm doing great, and you?
So far, so good. I'm excited to connect here and see who it is that we have joining. How many folks do we have expected to participate?
Above 60 people, they
Oh,
registered.
great.
More than
Okay.
60. Yeah.
Very nice. And I see you're at the common desk with the nicest background possible.
Yeah, I like this spot.
Awesome. Is anyone else at the office with you today?
Julian is here with me,
Okay.
so yeah, I mean he's not at this
Great.
moment in the meeting room, but he's around.
Oh, cool. Okay. And then did you all get a chance to do lunch together, or are you going to do that after this meeting?
No, I think we are going to have each of us separate lunch.
Okay.
So,
Very nice.
how was your lunch?
Things were good. Kids are on summer break, so that's basically the only time I get during the day to see them. So I like to go downstairs and have like a sit down lunch with them and enjoy that time. So it's very nice. Thank you for asking. Try and keep it simple, but it's still very pleasant to be with them and have that time.
Yeah, that's great. So
Awesome. And right
people,
at 2 o'clock, do we have people waiting in the waiting room?
they are already joining us. So we have
Oh,
at
cool.
this moment some of our customers, they have joined us. So guys, if you can hear us, where are you? So how's the weather? Where are you located? You know that you have here the chat, and also we have the Q&A. So either where you want to put your message, we are going to read it. And we have 4 more minutes, I would say, or 2 more minutes, and then we can start just waiting more people to join. And sorry. And then we can start over. Let me share my screen. Let me know if you can see my screen. So hi everyone, thanks for joining us. Thank you, Marty. Thank you, Richard. So today we're going to have a webinar that is going to be cybersecurity. You know that we have these bi-weekly webinars, so we're so excited to have this webinar that it's kind of related with InsuredMine, but it's also a hot topic that we have here, like kind of most of the times we hear like circumstances happen with some companies or either in insurance companies too. So I want to formally introduce to you guys Michael LaBrecque. He's our new VP of sales. He joined us like, it's going to be 5 months, Michael?
Yeah, January, just at the beginning of the year.
Yeah, January. So we are so excited to have Michael. This is his first formal webinar that he's with us, with all of you. So guys, if you have any questions, something that you want to pin directly Michael, please feel free to pin him. Here you have his email, so he's going to be there for you. And Michael, please help me to introduce yourself and kick off this webinar.
Of course, I'm happy to. So it's a pleasure to have everyone in attendance today. Speaking for myself as the VP of Sales at InsuredMine, as Montserrat just introduced me, I'll give a little bit of my background. So just over a decade of cyber experience, with my initial exposure for about 5 years working as an MGA with a specific honed focus on cyber liability insurance. That's where I got the exposure to the cyber side of the business, or the cyber industry as a whole. I also have about 7 years of experience working on the human protection layer of the security stack, anti-phishing tools, filtering tools, threat remediation, and other sectors within the cybersecurity stack, which we'll get into a bit more today, and the how and the why it's important for insurance agencies to protect not only their own business, but their clients as an asset, meaning data as the asset. So Montserrat is going to drive the slide deck today. And yes, please, along the way, if you have any questions, we'll do our very best to pause and answer them. Or if it makes more sense, we'll batch them at the end. Either is fine with me, but please feel free to put your hand up or share along the way.
Thank you, Michael.
Perfect. So to kind of start foundationally and have the dialogue around what is cybersecurity and why is it important. So as I've alluded to, the practice of protecting your own systems and your network is paramount. But just as, if not more important, is the data of your clients and prospective clients alike. What this means is safeguarding really critical data like PII, personal identifiable information, financial records, right? You very well may have payment data on file, credit card information, bank accounts, even premium finance information, and then also personal health information if you sell benefits, life insurance policies, and the like. As far as your internal systems, a lot of threats originate through vendors. So it's really important to have lockdowns on your security practices for your AMS, your CRM, InsuredMine, of course, your email protections, and then payment portals and everything else that would fall under those categories. And of course, we can discuss that more in depth in another session. Digital communications is huge. Email, texting, file sharing, and this goes in both directions. Always double check the email address that you're sending critical information to or responding to. Threat actors will often do what's called a domain doppelganger, or a spoof, in a respect where it will appear as though it's coming from a similarly named organization. And the most important factor there is to ensure that you're not sharing information with or responding to a threat actor who's pretending to be someone else, essentially replicating who you believe could be a real contact. Same goes for, and we'll discuss this more in depth, unsolicited hyperlinks in particular. Always hover over the link, double check where you believe it goes to. Copying, pasting that link into your browser is not keeping you safe either. So if you're unsure, report it through your email vendor, whether it be Outlook or Google. They both have spam/phishing reporting mechanisms. You may very well also have another tool that you can use in-house to do so. Next slide, Montse, please. So here are the 3 major reasons why cybersecurity practices matter to you and your agency. So because of the cost of building out what is called a security stack, there are many layers, many tools, many softwares that you would need as it pertains to endpoint protection, phishing and firewalls, security event management tools. There's also things like cloud and app security, data loss prevention. For a smaller agency in particular, this can, come into the thousands or tens of thousands annual cost. So of course, some of us are a bit reluctant to put those tools in place. The bad actors are very much aware of that, and they look for vulnerabilities in targeting individuals or even the business as a whole, and attempting to gather social security numbers, driver's license, and other identifiable information, banking, credit card information, and anything else that they can get a hand on to either exploit themselves directly or use as an opportunity to solicit ransom. So essentially holding your data captive in response for a payment. And even then, that could be a completely different rabbit hole to pursue as far as another conversation. But oftentimes the bad guys will, even once a ransom is paid, not necessarily turn back over your data, which can, of course, cause business compromise and a variety of other issues with either your cyber liability insurance and or just the budgetary respects of your organization. Another thing is if data is compromised, client trust, right? That's a big thing. Knowing that the root cause of the exposure was from an agency, a carrier, or even an MGA, they meaning the insured, may be less inclined to continue that partnership or refer business to your agency, the carrier, or the MGA in particular. And not to mention that second bullet under number 2, the financial impact of the average cost of a data breach is over $5.5 million in the insurance industry. So if we can all just kind of take a moment there and think about the financial impact to our respective agencies at that sum, how that could completely change the trajectory of your business and or how that could impact you permanently, potentially. So one of the big things I want to take a step away. The intention here is to be providing some additional information and sharing. This is not intended to be a scare session by any means. It's support in information and giving you a little bit more insight as to ways that you can help protect your agency. And then the why now is, essentially threat actors are upping their outflow and their efforts on a day-to-day basis. I'm sure you all have seen some of the gigantic names that have been breached over the past few years, the Targets of the world, JP Chase Morgan, the Pentagon was hacked 2 years ago, which means, of course, none of us are exempt from such an activity. I myself, admittedly, have been compromised with my personal identification not too long ago in a different capacity. Someone had stolen a credit card literally out of a new replacement card out of my mailbox. So there's a variety of different ways that go beyond cyber that are unnecessary exposures to good folks like us who are just trying to do honest business. So threat landscape, this is where we started with over 80% of successful breaches start with a phishing attack. So again, the bad guys are replicating maybe a vendor that you use, a brand name you're familiar with, or it could be someone pretending to be Montserrat sending me an email from an address that appears similar to InsuredMine, where perhaps it's InsuredMines.com as a for instance, or InsuredMine.org, and they create these domains, these email addresses, and then they intentionally replicate colleagues, bosses, etc. We have advanced far beyond the CEO or the founder asking for gift cards specifically. These are very comprehensive phishing attacks, and it's important to perhaps put a training program in place. And I can speak to you all on the back end about some vendors who are really good at that. We've touched on ransomware and the cost impact that exists there, including that up to $5.5 million of average cost per incident. Business email compromise is similar to phishing attacks, but essentially it's soliciting a particular action from the client. So things like fake wire transfers, payment requests, and things of that nature. And again, I know you look at a figure that you see here that in 2024, over $2.7 billion of expenditure was spent on business email compromise. It's hard to kind of fathom what that means on a incident basis, but all things considered, that is an encompassment of all breaches, through email alone that have been successful. And most of those payouts are in some version of cash, wire transfer, or cryptocurrency. So that's a substantial number that I want to bring attention to. Now, a couple other things here. Skipping to number 5, integration and vendor risk. That's something that on the individual vendor level may be worth addressing with them. A lot of organizations will do something like an audit or a questionnaire with their vendors to understand what protocols they have in place to keep their organization safe. I wanted to touch on that before I came back to one of the biggest faux pas of weak internal controls. Shared logins and weak passwords and things of that nature. Let's get away from password 123 and I love my wife, period, and things of that nature. You can do some research there on what successful password patterns are, but the recommendation is never write that down. Use a password manager if helpful, and do not share your passwords, meaning shared logins. Again, using the example of Montserrat and I, we would never share access to the same portal with the same credentials. The recommendation is always have your own. Do not write them down anywhere where there's a physical trace of your password, and make sure you change them regularly. That's what would be considered strong internal controls of email hygiene, of password hygiene. We've touched on this as far as the top cyber threats, so phishing and BEC, ransomware attacks, weak password hygiene, third-party software integrations. Again, I will encourage you to ask your vendors, what protocols do you have in place? Are you SOC 2 compliant? SOC 2 compliant means that you have practices in place that are audited against and you are in compliance with proper security measures. So SOC, the number 2, and it is what's called a type 2 certification. So the recommendation would be, of course, to check with all vendors in such a capacity and do essentially your own internal audit. And to wrap this slide, number 5, insider threats. It's all too unfortunate, but there are times that there are employees or even fake employees, someone you hire from who knows where that you don't have a personal understanding of who they are, or they're misrepresenting. Folks have been known to share sensitive data and things of that nature, or / human error is an accidental share of information by clicking on a hyperlink, logging into a portal, things of that nature as well. So the moral of the story is there are a lot of exposures that we want to rectify. And again, via email, if you all want to pitch me a note thereafter, I could give you the names of some vendors that I might recommend for each of these threat vectors and how to protect against. Once I see a few, I didn't get a chance to open the chat. Okay. It's just folks being pleasant and saying hi and hello, and they could hear us. Okay, I just noticed that now. As far as the human layer, again, 90% of breaches happen because of human error. Clicking on links, responding to malicious actors, and all the like that we've covered already. So please, again, be very, very careful on especially unsolicited URLs, attachments, and requests that are, dare I say, truly unexpected or not a communication you have with that person in particular that often. What I mean by that is if someone who would normally, have a $3,000 vendor bill comes back to you asking for $27,000 for 9 months of missed payment, my suggestion would be go back, double check, make sure, all those invoices are rectified and so forth on the front end before just assuming there was, an incident over the last 9 months that that bill wasn't paid. That very well may be some version of a threat actor representing what appears to be a real vendor. And then number 3, training your employees on cybersecurity. There are a variety of vendors who do cybersecurity training. There are vendors who do free phishing simulations and pen testing. You can do domain tests and vulnerability scans and things of that nature. Again, I'm happy to offline direct you to some of the trusted vendors that I have relationships with and have either worked for or used in the past. This is what we've discussed here along the way. So get proper security awareness training in place. I would certainly suggest the term regular phishing simulations is not necessarily arbitrary, but it is a preference on the organization's level. My suggestion would be to run phishing simulations at least once per month to test your team, make sure that they're applying what it is that they're learning in training. Encourage a reporting culture, meaning if someone sees something, say something, hey, I received what appeared to be a suspicious email and reported it. I'd like to make sure everyone else is aware in case they've received something similar. Password manager usage we covered. There are different softwares you can use, like a 1Password, for instance, to manage and house all of your passwords safely in an encrypted manner. Definitely a recommendation, as well as multi-factor authentication. Most, if not all of you, are probably already using that or are familiar with it. Data handling policies, that's on an agency basis, having your own practice in place as to what happens with sensitive data and how you manage that internally. Encrypting data, another great practice, as well as secure file sharing. There are some really great tools out there that will help you encrypt files as you share them across the web. And then also access reviews and cleanups. That's more of a maintenance element. And then staying compliant with federal and state laws will, as we all know about cyber liability insurance, as you likely have your own, staying compliant, of course, helps us maintain the best premiums and guidance through our carriers as well. So MFA is something I stand by pretty substantially. And the reason I say that is unless you are compromised in two places, meaning the threat actor would have access to your account and the secondary device where you would be authenticating, you should be able to at least cut them off at the pass in a respect. Using that same example, being an example myself, when that credit card was stolen, someone had gone to the Verizon store and tried to add a phone to my line. So I have multi-factor authentication through Verizon. They asked me if I was trying to add this particular device. I declined the request, and of course they called me right away to confirm. But all things considered, MFA, or it's also called two-factor authentication, strongly recommended for all platforms if possible. Using InsuredMine in your AMS systems with security layers, that goes without being said. Auditing third-party access and tool permissions. Hopefully, if you have an IT person on staff or you have a third-party IT group that you work with, they can direct you on how to do so. And then we'll circle the wagons here, come back to a written incident response plan. What happens if there is a successful breach? What steps do we take? And all things considered, again, it would be ideal to have a threat remediation plan with your IT professionals in-house or third party to understand how you proceed if and when something to this effect were to impact your organization. So that covers that slide as well. Monse, please. And then we'll open it up in the event there are any questions. Again, vendors and such, I'd rather not put that on recording because I have relationships with some, and others might be upset if they found out that I was referring a competitor. But other than vendor specific info, what questions, if any, may I answer?
I would say something to bring also, Michael, is that we were mentioning, right, that our clients need to review which partner they have security. So guys, you will be sure that InsuredMine, they have the SOC2 report. So we every year do this report questionnaire to be sure that you are working with an agency that it's taking care of your data. And if something happened, of course, InsuredMine, it's not going to be affected, and neither your data is going to be affected. Probably 2 years ago, if I'm not wrong, we were having circumstances with a client that they had a cyber attack, hopefully because they were integrated or they were InsuredMine partner, their data didn't get affected at all. They closed all their communications in the other platforms that they had, but the only platform that they maintain open and then they rely on, it was InsuredMine. So just to give you an idea that, of course, you're with a good company that is taking care of you and your data. I want to mention that.
Great, Monse. I appreciate that.
We have a question. Are you an MSP?
A managed service provider? No. I am the VP of sales here for InsuredMine, and essentially just speaking on behalf of the topic due to my background and experience, but no, not an MSP.
Yep, that's correct.
You're welcome, David.
Thank you, David. So it seems that we do not have any questions, but it's okay, guys. In the meantime, if you have more questions, please feel free to send us an email, either directly to Michael, that it's michael@insuremine.com, or to support, support@insuremine.com, and we are going to we're going to be happy to help you. Do not forget to get the InsuredMine Academy trainings that we have provided to you. We're going to have good news. Probably in the next month, we're going to update those trainings that we have, and we're going to bring more content. So stay in touch on that. And do not forget also to register for our webinars. You know that we have bi-weekly webinars. So far, sorry, on the week of first week of July, we are not going to have a webinar because we know that it's kind of summer break. So we wanted to give you time, but we're going to share with you some recordings and options that you can review from InsuredMine. We have a question, and Mohammed is asking us how to protect our agencies from ransomware attack.
Yeah, so although it's an extremely complex answer, the intention is to ensure that you have the tools in place that we've been discussing here today. So things like firewalls, perimeter defenses, definitely have testing and training tools like a phishing simulation software with security awareness training for the human layer, meaning yourself and your employees. As we indicated here, 90% of phishing attacks, successful phishing attacks, which in turn become ransomware attacks most often, are from end users' behavior, clicking on a hyperlink, opening an attachment they shouldn't have, entering their credentials on a faulty landing page. So those would be the three starting points that I would suggest. So a filtering system, an endpoint protection tool, and then security awareness training and simulated phishing exercises for your team. That would be the most cost-effective way to have at least a foundational respective protection against ransomware.
Thank you, Michael.
You're welcome.
I think that's all that we have for today, guys. Thank you for attending. And again, if you have any questions, please feel free to send us an email to connect directly with us, and happy to help you. Tomorrow, we are going to launch the July 4 campaign. So if you wanted that we send on your behalf the email, please fill out the form that we're going to send to you, and we're going to do that on your behalf. Just keep in touch in your InsuredMine system. It's going to be a pop-up, and either if you do not see it, please also ask a support team or send us an email, and we're going to send you the form, and we can set up your July 4 campaign. So I think we...
Thank you, everyone. It was a real pleasure.
Thank you, Michael. Thank you.
You're so welcome.
Have a good rest of your Wednesday.